There's an ancient Shaolin wisdom: before you conquer the world, you must conquer your mind. Today, we delve not into physical might or outward power, but into a quiet mastery that orchestrates all others. See emotional intelligence. And within this domain lies a singular mental shift, a potent insight that can elevate your emotional wisdom beyond most people's grasp. Let's unpack this journey in 4 key stages. When we embark on the quest for emotional intelligence, our initial instinct often points towards acquiring new techniques or mimicking the behaviors of the emotionally mature. Yet the truth is, the real transformation unfolds from a deeper comprehension, something far more fundamental and impactful than mere information. It begins with cultivating the ability to observe without reacting. This isn't a skill imparted in many educational settings, and it's seldom mirrored in our fast-paced contemporary world. Nevertheless, it stands as one of the profoundest mental capabilities a human can cultivate. From the instant you awaken, your mind is inundated with stimuli, digital notifications, societal expectations, constant messages, and pervasive noise. Untrained, most individuals automatically default to a reactive mode. They respond instinctively to what they perceive, hear, and feel, often unaware they even possess a choice. They are swept along by their emotions, lacking true direction. Anger propels them, ego pushes them, fear paralyzes them, hesitation ensnares them, and still they mistakenly believe they are in command. However, position for emotional intelligence isn't about quicker reactions. It's about responding with deliberate awareness. And this journey starts with keen observation. The monks of Shaolin don't just hone their bodies, they refine their inner awareness. Every movement is initiated with presence. Every act is preceded by mindful watching, because they grasp that when you learn to perceive clearly without leaping to judgment or knee-jerk responses, your inner strength magnifies. Most people hear a word and instantly recoil with emotion. An insult ignites anger. Being overlooked sparks insecurity. A disagreement triggers the need to defend. In all these instances, the suffering doesn't stem from the situation itself, it's the reaction. And these reactions arise from a deficit of inner space. This crucial element is the secret space. It's that fleeting instant between stimulus and response. A subtle inhale, a deliberate pause, a pivotal moment where you choose whether to be governed by your ingrained habits or by your deeper wisdom. When you master observing without reacting, you reclaim this invaluable space. You liberate your mind from the automatic scripts that have dictated its operations for years, perhaps decades. This position 4. You begin to perceive emotions arise, but instead of grasping them, you allow them to drift like a feather on the breeze. You neither suppress nor fuel them, you simply acknowledge their presence. Imagine for a moment standing atop a mountain, witnessing clouds traverse the sky, some dark, some radiant, some swift, some languid. This mirrors the behavior of your thoughts and emotions. You are not the cloud, you're the mountain, unwavering, serene, conscious. This encapsulates what it means to observe. When something is said that triggers you, when your carefully laid plans unravel, when your heart races, when jealousy stirs, when anxiety whispers, instead of merging with the emotion, you become its witness. This act of witnessing cultivates true freedom. Emotional intelligence isn't about feigning indifference to what you feel. It's about knowing what you feel and consciously choosing your response. The most formidable fighters don't recoil from every blow. They've trained to remain composed under pressure. The most influential leaders don't erupt when challenges surface. They've trained to maintain composure amidst chaos. Emotional resilience isn't about stifling feelings. It's about precision. And the cornerstone of precision is awareness. To cultivate this awareness, you must decelerate, not necessarily in your external life, But within your internal realm, you must develop the discipline of noticing your mind, observing your reactions, and paying close attention to what triggers you and its physiological impact. When you sense tightness in your chest, simply observe it. When your fists clench, when your breathing becomes shallow, when your stomach knots, pause and look. Do not judge, do not rationalize, do not excuse. Simply see. The more you practice this, the more your automatic reactions lose their hold. It's akin to watching a flame without pouring fuel on it. It will flare, then subside, then dissipate. The mind is ceaselessly in motion, but you are not. Your thoughts are perpetually flowing, but you are not. Your emotions are constantly shifting, but you are not. You are the observer. And the more you practice observing, the clearer your choices become. This isn't a skill to master overnight or even in a month. This is a lifelong endeavor. But each day you dedicate to training this awareness, you forge mental strength. Every instance you opt to observe instead of react, you grow stronger, wiser, and more peaceful, because the external world no longer dictates your inner state. You don't surrender your power to another's mood, to a passing comment, or to someone else's error. You retain it within yourself. This self-position is what grounds you. Sometimes the greatest strength lies in doing nothing at all. Not from weakness, but from profound presence. When someone insults you and you remain silent, it's not due to fear, but because you transcend the provocation. When disappointment strikes and then you don't crumble, it's because you know this too shall pass. When jealousy surfaces and you smile, it's because you understand it's merely a signal, not a judgment. This is true mastery. The mind becomes your ally, not your adversary. You act from wisdom, not from pain. And you live from clarity, not chaos. It demands time, it demands patience, but the more you dwell in stillness, the more you attune to your breath, the more you carve out space between trigger and action, the more your inner world transforms. And when your inner world shifts, your entire life aligns, because your decisions will now be guided by clarity. Your relationships will now be nurtured by understanding. Your mind will now be attuned to peace instead of conflict. And this peace is not passive. It is immensely powerful, positioned for, it enables you to act with intent, to speak with impact. So remember, the initial stride toward emotional intelligence isn't about articulate speech or rapid thinking position. It's about slowing down and learning to observe without reacting. This is where your genuine power awakens and where you truly encounter your authentic self. There's a subtle shift that happens when you bring awareness to your emotions, a quiet turning point where power flows back to you and inner control starts to feel innate. It's not found in battling the emotion or pretending it doesn't exist. It's discovered in something far simpler, far more profound. You name it. You give it a word, you call it what it is. And like a shadow meeting the light, it begins to dissipate. In the temple, we are taught not to flee from what we feel, because running magnifies the fear and concealment intensifies the pain. Instead, we are instructed to turn toward the feeling, examine it with clarity, and articulate its name. When you name the emotion, you strip away its disguise. What once felt like a crashing wave becomes something you can comprehend, something you can confront. Most people navigate life guided by unseen forces. They feel angry but don't understand why, feel anxious but never question what thought gave rise to it. They feel jealous but cloak it with pride. And so they react, they lash out, they withdraw, they blame, and they inevitably harm themselves in the process. Emotional intelligence is the antithesis. It begins by illuminating the mind and posing one simple question. What is this truly? The brain has an intricate link between language and emotion. When you name what you feel, you activate the part of your brain responsible for logic and reasoning, This act alone begins to quiet the emotional center. Suddenly, fear is no longer a monstrous entity, it's simply fear. Anger is not an uncontrolled explosion, it's simply anger. Hold this position for. You perceive it for what it is, and that alone weakens its hold. You begin to feel more at ease within yourself because you are no longer battling your inner world. You are understanding it, you are working with it, and this forges strength of character. Sometimes people mistakenly believe emotional intelligence implies a lack of strong emotions. But this is inaccurate. Emotional intelligence means you feel fully, but you are not controlled by those feelings. You honor your emotions, but you do not obey them blindly. And the way you cultivate this skill is by naming them gently, honestly, and consistently. This also enhances your connection with others because when you understand what you are feeling, you can communicate it clearly instead of projecting or blaming. You can say, I feel hurt, or I feel misunderstood, or I feel anxious. And this opens doors instead of erecting walls. To hold this position for it enables others to meet you with empathy because they no longer have to guess what's unfolding within you. This clarity also deepens your self-respect because you are showing up for yourself in a way most never do. You are listening, you are being authentic, you are being kind. And through this practice, the inner world transforms into a space of truth, not confusion. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be present. So the next time an emotion arises, don't flee from it. Don't fear it. Don't act on it immediately. Pause, breathe, feel, and speak its name. This is how the fog dissipates. This is how the chaos settles. This is how you walk the path of mastery with calm and with clarity. Moreover, this is how you become free. The way you communicate with yourself becomes the way you experience your life. Not only in moments of quietude, but in every decision you make, every emotion you encounter, and every path you choose. Most people navigate their days surrounded by external noise, but the most pervasive voice they hear is the one residing in their own mind. And they self-question it, they assume it's truth, they assume it's them. But the journey of emotional intelligence isn't about obeying this voice, it's about mastering it, shaping it, transforming it into something that serves you instead of undermining you. In the monastery, we are taught that the mind is like a garden. Whatever you sow there will flourish. If you plant doubt, fear, and shame, these will sprout like weeds and choke your peace. Position 4. But if you cultivate clarity, discipline, and compassion, then you create a sanctuary where wisdom can thrive. Your inner dialogue is the soil, the seed, and the sunlight all in one. It determines the kind of life you build. You hold this position for. Many individuals carry an internal voice that is relentlessly critical. Oh, you are not enough. You always fail. No one cares about you. You should be better. You should be stronger. This voice isn't truth, for it's a habit. It's the echo of past experiences, ingrained beliefs, and old wounds. It's the product of a mind that was never to communicate with clarity and kindness. And if you don't intervene, that voice will define your identity without your conscious awareness. Emotional intelligence begins with awareness, but it flourishes with language because the words you inwardly repeat become patterns, and those patterns manifest as your reality. When you experience a setback, do you say, I am a failure? Or do you say, I made a mistake and I will learn? When you feel wounded, do you say, I deserve this? Or do you say, this feeling is valid and I will move through it? When things go awry, do you say, I can never win? Or do you say, this is a moment, not a lifetime? These subtle distinctions are anything but small. Position 4, they represent between self-destruction and self-mastery. To master your inner dialogue, you must start with observation. Position 4, listen to your thoughts without reacting, without resisting. Just listen. What does the voice whisper when you awaken? What does it utter when you gaze in the mirror? What does it say when you are solitary or rejected or challenged? These are the moments where the voice reveals its true character. And once you perceive it clearly, you can begin to train it. Training the inner voice isn't about pretending everything is flawless. It's not about hollow affirmations. It's about cultivating a relationship with yourself founded on truth and fortitude. You don't have to deceive yourself, but you must learn to speak with intention. When the voice asserts, "I cannot handle this," you respond, "I will take it one step at a time." When the voice proclaims, "I always mess things up," you affirm, "I have made mistakes, but I am still growing." When the voice insists, "No one respects me," you declare, "I respect myself," and that is where it begins. This is not about ego, this is about grounding. Because when your inner world becomes a wellspring of wisdom, your outer life becomes a reflection of it. You make better choices because you are not attempting to escape your own mind. You face discomfort without retreating because you trust your own inner support. You move through life with serenity, not because life is without challenge, but because your mind no longer sabotages you. There will be days when the old voice resurfaces louder than ever, urging you to surrender, to remain silent, to diminish and disappear. In those moments, you must speak back, not with anger, not with fear, but with unwavering presence. You declare, "I hear you, but I choose a different path." You affirm, "This voice is old, but I am new." You assert, "I am not my thoughts, I am the one who chooses what to do with them." And in that conscious choosing, you reclaim your power. In Shaolin, we recite mantras not because the words possess magic, but because repetition is how the mind learns. If you desire to change the voice, you must train it daily in every moment. Not just when things are calm, but especially when they are not. When the world tests you and the pressure mounts, that is when you show up for yourself, not with panic, but with purpose. And the more you do this, the more natural it becomes. Your inner dialogue influences everything: how you treat others, how you establish boundaries, how you navigate setbacks, and how profoundly you believe in your own worth. If the voice within you is constantly tearing you down, then no amount of external accomplishment will ever feel secure. But if the voice inside you is steady, grounded, and encouraging, then even failure will not shatter you because you know who you are beneath it all. This mastery isn't about silencing the negative voice. It's about supplanting it with a stronger one, a wiser one, a wiser one, a voice that perceives clearly and speaks kindly, a voice that challenges your fears without empowering them, a voice that holds you accountable but never breaks you down. And to cultivate that voice, you must speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love, with firmness, with compassion, with understanding. There is immense strength in this quiet discipline. It doesn't always manifest outwardly, but it's felt deeply within. It builds a foundation that cannot be shaken because it is constructed from presence, from truth, from choice. And over time, your entire experience of life begins to transform. Not because the world becomes easier, but because your mind is no longer your adversary. So when the pressure mounts, when doubt appears, when you feel overwhelmed, pause, listen, and speak with intention. Guide your mind the way a master guides his breath, slowly, steadily, with full awareness. This is how you construct a life that mirrors the strength within you, in a world that constantly demands more from you. More movement, more noise, more reaction. The one thing it rarely advocates for is stillness. Yet, stillness is the crucible where true power originates. Because in stillness, you are no longer chasing the world, you are encountering yourself. You are not merely reacting to life, you are understanding it. And this is the core of emotional intelligence. Not just knowing your feelings, but being grounded enough to choose your response to them. And the sole pathway to reaching that solid ground is through stillness. Stillness is not the absence of activity, it is the presence of awareness. It's not about sitting in silence for extended periods, though that can certainly be beneficial. It's about training your mind to stop habitually reaching outward and instead to return inward, even for just a few moments each day. When you practice stillness, you begin to discern what has always been there, but was obscured by constant distraction, your thoughts, your emotions, your inherent truth. And once you perceive them clearly, they no longer dictate your actions. In the monastery, we train with intensity, we move, we perspire, we push our limits. But the profounder training occurs in the silence between the movements, after the breath, before the next step. It is there that we meet our mind and we train it to be calm, not just when circumstances are easy, but when everything around us is accelerating. Stillness is the tool that decelerates time. It grants you the capacity to pause when others rush, to observe when others react, and to choose with purpose when others succumb to impulse. Every day, the world will present you with 1,000 excuses to bypass stillness. There will always be one more message to answer, one more task to complete, one more distraction to lose yourself in. And if you wait for silence to arrive, it never will. You must choose it. You must protect it. You must integrate it into your discipline, because without stillness, you do not truly see yourself. You only see what the world reflects back to you. When you commence this practice, it may feel unsettling. Your mind will resist it. Your thoughts will drift. Your body may feel restless. But that is not a failing. That is the beginning. Stillness is not about doing nothing. It is about doing one thing completely, breathing, feeling, being. When you sit and breathe and observe, you begin to understand what truly drives you, where your emotions originate, what thoughts incessantly repeat, and what narratives you carry unquestioningly. And by perceiving them clearly, you begin to reclaim your power. Most people equate strength with endurance or assertiveness or control. But genuine strength is calm. It is the capacity to be still in the middle of chaos and not lose your center. To breathe deeply when your heart is pounding. To perceive clearly when your mind is clouded. And this is a strength that demands daily cultivation. Not in the moments you feel inclined, but precisely in the moments you don't, because that's when it truly matters most. Stillness imparts patience. It imparts humility. It reveals to you that not every emotion necessitates a reaction. Not every thought deserves your belief. Not every situation demands your energy. It reminds you that you are not the storm, you are the sky. And storms may pass through, but they do not define you. Even 5 minutes of daily stillness can profoundly transform your emotional landscape. It grants your nervous system an opportunity to reset. It offers your mind a respite from judgment. It provides your soul space to breathe, and in that space, you begin to hear the voice that is not born from fear or pride or ego, but from something deeper, something unshakable, something true. When you face a challenge and your mind races, when someone says something that stirs your anger, when anxiety rises and demands your attention, stillness gives you a choice. Instead of reacting automatically, you can breathe, you can pause, you can observe, and in that pause, you return to your strength, because no one controls your peace unless you give it to them. And stillness is how you hold it close. This practice is not about isolating yourself from life. It is about engaging with life from a place of balance. It allows you to listen more deeply, to speak with clarity, to move with purpose, because you are no longer being pushed by unconscious forces. You are acting from presence. And presence is what turns effort into mastery. You may not always have control over what happens around you, but stillness reminds you that you always have control over how you meet it. When you begin the day in stillness, you set a tone of inner calm that stays with you. When you end the day in stillness, you release what no longer serves you. You forgive, you breathe, you return. And this return is where your peace is rebuilt. Stillness is not about being passive. It is about being powerful enough to choose when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to listen, when to push forward and when to rest. Without stillness, your energy is scattered, your mind is cluttered, and your emotions run unchecked. But with stillness, you bring everything back to center, and from that center, you lead yourself forward. Over time, you will notice that the things that once overwhelmed you no longer have the same power. You will notice that your reactions soften, your clarity sharpens, your decisions deepen. And this is not because life has become easier. It is because you have become stronger from the inside out. And the root of that strength is found in stillness. So no matter what your schedule looks like, no matter how busy your mind feels, no matter how loud the world becomes, give yourself a few minutes each day to return to silence, to sit with your breath, to watch your thoughts, to feel your body, and to remind yourself that underneath all the noise, there is a stillness that is always available to you. And that stillness is where you become unshakable. Emotional intelligence is not something you get. It is something you practice, something you become. So remember, observe, don't react, name your emotions, speak with inner clarity, and return to stillness every day. This is the way of the mindful warrior, not to escape the world, but to move through it with power, grace, and peace.